this breath, it is. So we call upon your Holy Spirit. May He be the one to come and guide us. May He be the one to come and help us understand each and everything that will be shared among this platform, and let us gain something at the end of this lesson. May you be with the one who is going to take us through this session, and let it be the colorful of all. We pray those through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Okay, thank you so much, Benjamin, for that prayer. So again, welcome everyone to this seminar. I think this is our second, but some of you, it is actually the first, but it is the second. So I welcome you. Understand we have a mixture of both senior 5 and senior 6. That is all right, you're in the right place. My name is Teacher Gonza Arthur, and I'll be the lead facilitator today. I don't know if I will have some other volunteers joining me, but if they do, they'll share also something small with us. So this is like a continuation from where we started from last week when we had our first one. Now, because of data issues and the recording quality issues, I'm going to disable my video, and I'll also request everyone to disable their videos as well, that we can have only one point of focus. Okay. So let me share the document that we were using last week. Okay, so these are the questions that he guided us last week. And last week, we discussed a lot of tricks or some of things that we can do to help us pass this A-level biology. But the first trick was saying that you have to first make sure you interpret the question. Before rushing to rate anything, you have to make sure that you first interpret the question. Then after, if you find that the question is still difficult to interpret, we said that you can now simplify the hard words that are being used in there. You substitute them into the words that you can ably understand, as long as they don't change the meaning of the question. Then after that, you can now go ahead and try to recall the biology or try to apply the biology that you learned from school and be able to answer those questions. So we discussed the whole of number 1, and understand we finished that number 1. Then we went to graph work. Graph work, there were a lot of questions. And I remember even we didn't even succeed. I did not even succeed in answering all your questions. But however, at least 70 to 80% of the things about graphs were answered, including the description, including the use of the words relationship, using words like compare, using words like contrast, those ones. Then I also told you that the moment you're given any graphical question, these graphs are always gotten from experimental data. By experimental data, I mean that someone maybe carries out an investigation, he collects information, and in that attempt to interpret or to understand this information, the person tries to create some graphs to try to visualize the data. Then after visualizing the data, then they can be able to interpret it so well and even be able to explain it. Therefore, we said that for you to be able to answer any questions about graphs, you have to first understand the experiment. You have to first make sure you understand the experiment. Try to brainstorm, try to outline how was this experiment done? How was it carried out? Try to put yourself in the shoes of the researcher or in the shoes of the scientist who came up with such data. Then after that, then you start giving your own observations. You start giving your own explanations why this could have been this. Then after doing all that, then you can then go ahead and answer the questions that follow. Then William is saying, can you share with me the last time discussions I missed? That recording is there. There is a recording which was shared. Okay, then so we discuss the interpretation of this question. We try to understand how was this experiment carried out. Then we ask ourselves some of the questions: why this, why that, like that. Then we saw the ways how we can describe graphs. Then we didn't get a chance to answer these questions here, to answer the questions from the graph. Now, just a simple recap of those ones who missed last week, because I still feel that we have something to talk about with this graph. So we looked at this as our case study. We said that the first thing is to try to interpret the words. So they're saying that the graph shows a single plant leaf. So it means that you have one leaf. You have just one leaf. And then they are saying they investigated how this leaf was importing and exporting sucrose and phosphorus. Wasa is asking, am I in senior 5 class or senior 6? Wasa in A-level biology seminar. That's what you're in, A-level biology seminar. That's what you're in. Okay. So I think to focus, let me first disable the chat. I will enable the chat later when I feel that it is time for the questions. Okay. Okay. So we said that here you have one leaf. Then you're trying to see the amount or the rate at which this leaf is importing and exporting sucrose and phosphorus. Importing, we said bringing in things. So you take the leaf as Uganda. Then you see the rate at which Uganda, that is your leaf, is importing these things. And at the same time, the rate at which this Uganda is exporting things. So it means importing is bringing in things and exporting is taking out things. So the researcher tried to see the rate at which the leaf imports sucrose and phosphorus and the rate at which the leaf exports sucrose and phosphorus during a period of 40 days. Then he came up with this data here. The export is shown in this graph, the positive. So the import is shown by the positive values on the vertical axis. Then the export is shown by the negative values on the vertical axis. Then on the horizontal axis, we have there the edge of the leaf, So it means from 0, the edge of the leaf is 0, that is in days. Then they monitored it until the leaf reached 40 days of its lifespan. Then he measured the leaf area. So this graph here is for the leaf area. So he measured the leaf area. Of course, obviously, how do you expect the leaf area to change? As the leaf matures, the leaf area also increases because that's how leaves grow. As the plant is growing, the size of the leaves also keeps on growing. So you can see that from day 0 to day 10, the leaf area increased gradually. Then from day 10 to day 30, the leaf area increased rapidly. Then from day 30 to day 40, the leaf area remained constant. As simple as that. So that they have described, actually have described that graph for the leaf area. Then what do we see for the phosphorus and sucrose? So you can see that for phosphorus and sucrose. So here, the one with the small dots, you can see that the graph is increasing gradually up to 20. So, and this one is for import, because from here, that graph is for import. Up, import, downwards, export. So it means that from 0 to 10 days, the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf increases gradually. That is what it means, that here the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf increases gradually. Then you can see from 20 up to this day here. Let me put this map there.
Excuse me, teacher.
So, yes.
Teacher, isn't it phosphorus according to the
Yes,
graph?
sorry. Yes, it is actually phosphorus. Thank you for that. It is actually phosphorus. So we can see here that the amount of phosphorus imported decreases gradually from 20 to this day here. This day is not clearly marked here, but we have to estimate it and quote it accurately. So you can estimate this could be around the 27th day. It will be around the 27th day. So it means from 20 to 27 days, the amount of phosphorus imported into the leaf decreases. Then from this 27 to 30, it is now actually export, because now it has crossed this line here. So this is export. So it means from this 27 to 30, this is export, actually, not to 30, but from 27 to 40, this is export. So what does it mean? It means that the phosphorus is leaving, is being taken out of the leaf. That is what it means, that the phosphorus is being taken out of the leaf. Then we also discussed that when these values are negative, do we say that this one is a decrease or an increase? For instance, who can tell us, and if you remember the explanation that we used, how can we describe this graph here from here up to 30 for sucrose? How can we describe that one? How can we describe the graph for sucrose from this point here? Of course, I wanted to identify also the actual date here up to 30. What did we say? Any volunteer? You can raise up your hand. Let me also enable the chat. Jerome? Jerome, your network is clear. Yes, Senyondo. Senyondo. Senyondo, unmute yourself. Good evening to you.
Good evening. From there, for sucrose, we say from 10 to 30 days, the amount of
from
sucrose,
10?
Yes, to 30 days, the amount of sucrose exported rapidly increases.
From 10, there is some import, it is not export.
Yeah, the amount of sucrose exported.
From which date to which date?
From around 11. From 11 to 30 days, the amount of sucrose exported rapidly increases.
So the amount of sucrose exported increases rapidly.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So that is what we say. Let me first see the chart. sucrose exported increases rapidly, rapid increase of export. Meaning from the rate of sucrose. Okay, so we have it. Even in the chat, we have it. Thank you. Okay, so we said that if the values are always negative, what you tend to see as decrease is actually increase. And what you tend to see as increase is actually a decrease when the values are negative. Okay. So we are saying, why is it increase or decrease? Because you're moving from, let's see here, more sucrose exported, that's why the values are negative. Okay, Denise is saying that more sucrose is exported, amount of sucrose in plant reduces, so that's why the values are negative. Okay, Denise. So now the reason why we say it is increase or maybe decrease, it is either way. Definitely these are negative values. These are negative values. These are negative values. We are moving from less negative to a more negative value. Then also, we can also tend to use these words export. Export, they're taking out something. But nevertheless, we discussed most of those things last week. Now, I want someone to give us the explanation we said, the explanation for leaf area and the movement of sucrose. You can give us that explanation for leaf area and the movement of sucrose. In other words, we are answering question A, Roman number 1. We are answering question A, Roman number 1. You can first write down your answer, then you think about it, then you read it for us when you're ready. So you want an answer for part A, Roman number 1. If you're ready, you raise up your hand, then you tell us your answer.
Yeah.
Yes, Senyondo?
Yes, from zero to 10 days. From 0 to 10 days, the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf gradually increases. That is how my description will be. From 0 to the amount of sucrose imported gradually increases. Then the reason for that, it could be that at this, from this increasing time, sucrose is needed into the leaf for its growth and development. Therefore, gradually increases being imported. That is how I would phrase it.
Okay, thank you. That is good. Prosper?
Thank you, Teacher Arthur. I think from 0 to 20, there is a gradual increase in the sucrose movement, and there is a rapid decline because from 0 to 20, leaves are being.
Which movement of sucrose are you meaning? movement of sucrose?
Sorry?
Which movement of sucrose are you meaning? Export or import? You have to be specific.
Import.
Then you have to be specific in your answer.
Okay, from 0 to 20, import of sucrose increases gradually, and from 20 to 27, there is a rapid decline. This is because
William, that's not how we approach the question. We said you describe as you explain.
Okay.
You don't have to first describe the whole graph, then you come later at explaining.
Okay, let me learn. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Rogers, anything to say?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Now.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you.
I would like to give my opinion for the first part.
Is very welcome.
From 0 to 10, I hope you're hearing me.
Very clearly.
From 0 to 10, the amount of sucrose imported increases gradually because this leaf is still, like, to my general understanding, this leaf is still young and it has a reduced surface area. So the amount of chlorophyll that it has is reduced, like it doesn't have sufficient chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So it will have to import sucrose from other leaves or from other areas such that it gains a sucrose for running the metabolic activity. Then from 10 to 11, we see that the sucrose concentration or the sucrose imported is going to decrease rapidly because this leaf has developed and it has developed the chlorophyll for photosynthesis to carry out to get the sucrose required for metabolic activities. Then from 11 to 30, we see that there is an increase in the amount of sucrose exported because the leaf has fully developed and it has gained a large surface area, so it can easily capture the light and it has enough chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So it will make sufficient sucrose and excess of it is exported to other leaves. Should I proceed? Yes, hello?
Hello. Okay.
Should I proceed with the last part or I can stop at this? Okay. Then the reason as to why the amount of sucrose exported from 30 to 40, realize that the amount of sucrose exported is going to decrease rapidly. That's why we see the curve heading to the importing section. So the amount of sucrose exported is going to decrease rapidly because this leaf has reached senescence. It has become old. It has lost most of the chlorophyll. So it will have to gain the sucrose from other areas, from other leaves, such that it can run its metabolic activities because it had reached that senescence stage of loss of the chlorophyll, most of the chlorophyll. So that is my opinion. I beg to be corrected where I'm wrong.
Okay, thank you so much, Jimmy. Any other, another person wants also to give us their input before we wrap up? Yes, Jonathan.
Thank you, sir. I think that from 0 to 10 days, sucrose input increases gradually because as the leaf area increases, during that period, the leaf is still growing. Therefore, it needs supply of nutrients. It needs supply of sucrose to facilitate its growth. Then, from 10 days to 11 days, the sucrose input decreases rapidly because there the leaf is growing and becoming somehow broader. so it can carry out photosynthesis sufficient for the metabolic processes, but not so much sufficient. Then from 11 to 26 days, sucrose export increases rapidly because there we assume that the leaf has grown fully and carries out sufficient photosynthesis to produce the sucrose, to produce, to carries out sufficient photosynthesis for the metabolic processes. Then from 26 to 40 days, the sucrose export decreases rapidly because there the leaf has reached a threshold. It can't grow anymore and it is becoming older. So it needs to be fed so as to carry out the metabolic processes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so yes, the last one will be Fanny. Then we wrap up and look at something different. Yes, Michael?
Okay, mine is something small. Actually, I agreed with Jimmy Mohanji's idea when his explanation. But one thing that I didn't agree with is actually the fact of describing. Because when you're explaining, you first describe, then you explain. So the question here says, explain a relationship, the relationship between the area and movement. First of all, they didn't explain what the area is doing. Is the leaf area increasing gradually? Is it not? And also, when they say relationship, you must say, as this does this, this also does that. Or when the leaf area increases, the amount decreases, or something like that. They didn't describe properly, and I think that should be understood.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. Okay, okay. So now, what is important here is that whenever they ask you something, the first thing to do is to give us a description. Then you explain what you have described. And the best formula to go about it shouldn't be to first describe the whole graph and finish it. And then afterwards, you come back and start explaining. That is not the best way to go about it. You describe a portion where you see a change, a unique change, you describe, then you give an explanation, because then after finishing it, then you open another point, you describe, because then you give the explanation. That's what you do. Then, now, this graph was saying explain the relationship. So it means the first thing you're going to do is to describe that relationship that you want to explain. That is the first thing to do. You describe the relationship, because what some students do, someone can say, okay, they want me to explain the relationship between leaf area and movement of sucrose. Then you describe leaf area alone, then you give some explanation. After, then you describe movement of sucrose alone, then you also explain. You also give us an explanation to movement of sucrose. That one will be answering a completely different question. So you have to make sure that however much the explanations might be not related, but in this case, they must be related. Even if you think that in your view that the explanations are not related, but at least the description, you must first point out to that relationship. Now, for instance, here, what do we see? We see that now, I want just to give you a sample of the description. Although we discuss all these things, but I'm just making a small recap for those ones who have just joined us today, so that when we proceed, they don't seem to be lost. So here, I will just say that from 0 to 10 days, the amount, there is a gradual increase. There is a gradual increase in the amount of sucrose imported. Sorry, let me repeat. We said that from 0 to 10 days, there is a gradual increase in the leaf area and the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf. That is my relationship. I have described that both of them are increasing gradually. Then now I can now say because, then now I go on and give an explanation why. Why is it that as the leaf area is increasing gradually, also the movement of sucrose into the leaf is also increasing gradually? I go ahead and give that explanation. Then from 10 to 11, there is also something there. From 10 to 11, there is something there. So I would say that from 10 to 11, you can see that the leaf area is increased. So the leaf area increases. I don't know whether you can now call this one gradual or rapid, but I think we can, basing on the on what would happen if we extrapolate, we can describe it as gradual. So you can say from 10 to 11 days, the leaf area increases rapidly as the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf decreases rapidly. So most of you are missing out on that point. There is that relationship there from 10 to 11 days that the leaf area is increasing rapidly as the amount of sucrose imported into the leaf is also decreasing rapidly. Then you also go ahead and give an explanation as to why that during that period, the amount of sucrose imported decreases rapidly. Perhaps maybe it could be increase in leaf surface area increases the surface area over which photosynthesis takes place. Therefore, resulting into the leaf producing its own sucrose, thereby reducing on the importation of sucrose. Yeah, since the leaf has now started to make its own sucrose, therefore it will reduce on importing it from other leaves or from other areas of the plant. Then you go on and say from day 11 up to 30, you go on. I think there Jimmy explained it so well. What happens? Why is it that from this one there is a rapid increase in the sucrose exported? And also, why is it that from 30 to 40, the amount of sucrose exported decreases rapidly when the leaf surface area is so big and constant at that size? So I hope there we are together. So remember, the trick is we are not here to cram these answers. We are just here to just use this as a case study of how best we can describe and explain biology graphs. And always in your interpretation, always pay attention to details. Every detail counts. Some of you are not paying attention to the details. We are missing this point, this relationship from 10 to 11 days. Okay. Then explain the relationship between the age of leaf and the movement of phosphorus. This one we also discuss some few things about it. Who can help us explain the relationship? Now, I hope you have now known how to answer such a question. You first point out the relationship, then you explain that relationship. The first thing is to point out that relationship. Then after pointing it out, then can you go on and explain? This time I want a lady to explain the relationship between the age of the leaf and movement of phosphorus. Last time we brainstormed on the importance of phosphorus, why the leaf needs the phosphorus. We brainstormed on that importance. And that biology, all of us must have learned in schools. You must have learned the topic of cell biology. You know the role of phosphorus in the plasma membrane, and also you know the role of phosphorus in the ATP formation. Okay. Who is ready? We are answering part A, Roman number 2, a lady this time. Where are the ladies in the house? We need those voices also to reinvigorate us. We are tired of bass. Look at this lady called Waswa. Waswa, are you a lady? Maybe she could be using Waswa's account. The lady called Waswa. Okay, where are the ladies? Where are the ladies in the house? Hey, Amal, are you there? Nakalembe?
Yes, teacher.
I've seen Denise around. Denise, can you give us the answer? I've also seen Chantal around. Chantal, what do you think could be the answer? Explain the relationship between age of leaf and movement of phosphorus. Chantal, are you there? Okay, then we can go with the males. Yes, Waswa. Waswa?
From 0 to 10 days, the movement of phosphorus increases gradually. From 0 to 10 days, the movement of phosphorus increases gradually.
Movement, you have to be specific. Is it import or export? You have to be specific there.
Oh my gosh. The importation of phosphorus increases gradually. Then from 10 to 20 days, the import...
First tell me, what is your name? First
from
name
0.
Your name.
My name is Dorothy.
Yes, Dorothy. Now, remember we said that when you're explaining the relationship, you first describe the relationship. So you don't go by just one parameter. You don't just go by leaf area or that maybe phosphorus. Don't just say that phosphorus increases gradually, then from this phosphorus decreases rapidly like that. You have to give us a relationship between the age of leaf together with the movement of phosphorus. So when you look at that period from 0 to 10 days, what relationship exists between the age of the leaf and the movement of phosphorus? That is what you first have to do.
Okay, sir.
You can come back again.
Okay, let me begin from initially at 0 days, the movement of phosphorus is 0.
Another correction.
The importation. Then from
Dorothy?
0 to 10 days, the
Dorothy,
importation of phosphorus increases.
Dorothy, are you hearing me? Dorothy,
yes,
when we have figures given to us
I'm hearing.
On the horizontal axis, when we have figures given to us on the horizontal axis, like for example, this is 0, 10, 20, 30, then we don't use words like initially. We use words like initially when we don't have any figures on the horizontal axis. But since we have them, then you have to quote these figures as they are instead of saying initially. So instead of saying that initially there is an increase, a gradual increase, you can just say that from 0 to 10 days, there is a gradual increase like that. Dorothy, now I want you to give me the relationship from 0 to 10, just that, the relationship between age of leaf and movement of phosphorus.
Okay, so I've got it. Can I proceed?
Yes, you can proceed, Dorothy.
From 0 to 10 days. From 0 to 10 days, the importation of phosphorus increases gradually. From 10 to 20 days, the importation of phosphorus increases rapidly.
Then what of the age of the leaf? Dorothy, are you still there? Oh, Dorothy has disappeared. Okay, sorry. Who can describe for us? Give us the relationship. Okay, have some hands here. Yes, Irene. Irene.
Yes, sir. Yeah. As the leaf grows from 0 days to 10 days, the importation of phosphorus increases gradually. You said from 0 to 10.
Then you can give us an explanation.
Oh, no.
Okay, Bana. Bana, are you there?
Yes, teacher. Yes. Okay. Well, my explanation is that as the age of the leaf increases from 0 to 20, the input of phosphorus increases gradually.
That is wonderful.
So my explanation is that the leaf is still young but growing, so it imports phosphorus for the formation of new cell structures like cell membranes, and also for the synthesis of ATP to provide energy for the metabolic processes, for example, growth, respiration, and etc.
That is good. Now, why did you have to say up to 10 and not up to 20?
I was thinking of saying from, let me say 0 to 10, maybe gradually, and then maybe 10 to 20 very gradually, because they're both gradually, but one is more gradual than the other. So I just summed all of it. I'm not sure.
Okay. There is now a new word which you have brought in, very gradually. Well, now, when we are describing graphs, avoid using those words very gradually. There is no very gradual. There is no very rapid. There is no, which other word? Those words do not exist. If it is gradual, it is gradual. If it is rapid, it is rapid. There is nothing like very gradual or very rapid. Then we also mentioned something about more, the use of more gradual or less gradual. And we said that we use those such ones, more and less, only when we are comparing two graphs. Like for instance, when you look at this graph here, look at the graph for leaf area and the phosphorus. Leaf area and phosphorus. Now you notice that from 0 to 10, first of all, both are increasing gradually. But when you look at them, you notice that one is more gradual than the other, or one is less gradual than the other. So it means here I can use those words. I can say that from 0 to 10, amount of phosphorus imported increases less gradually than the leaf area. So I can use that word less, or even I can say that the leaf area is increasing more gradually than phosphorus imported. That is when you can use those words like more or less. So you can't use those words on just a single graph. So for instance, when you look at this one, it is gradual throughout from 0 to 20 for phosphorus. Is then the increase the same from, okay, she's Chantal, the increase is the same. It is the same, you're correct. Yes, Bana?
Yes, I can continue.
Yes, you can continue.
Then my next point was that as the age of the leaf increases from 20 days to 27 days, the input of phosphorus decreases rapidly to 0.
Okay, maybe I can now first correct you from there. Now you realize that the reason why I have mentioned the 0 is because you're seeing it on this axis here. Now, when we are describing graphs, we never mention any figure on the vertical axis. Never mention any figure on the vertical axis. So you just say that from 2027 days, the amount of phosphorus imported decreases rapidly. You can go on, Bana.
Then my explanation is that since the leaf is now more developed or mature, it doesn't require, the formation of new cells, the need to form new cells reduces. So a less amount of phosphorus is required, so less of it will be imported.
Okay, that's good, correct. Move on.
Yes, then the next one was, as the age of the leaf increases from 27 days to 35 days, the export of phosphorus increases gradually.
Mm-hmm.
Then my explanation is that the leaf is now at full maturity, so no more cells are required to be formed, so the excess phosphorus is exported.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. Move on.
Yes, then as the age of the leaf increases from 35 days to 40 days, the export of phosphorus decreases gradually.
Mm-hmm.
Then here I was not sure, but I think since it's now aging, yeah, it's now very mature, it has stopped growing. So phosphorus, I assume, is required to form maybe the cells that are being lost, constantly being lost. So that's why, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bana. Now here, the reason why there is a decrease in the amount of sucrose exported out of the leaf, the reason would be due to the increased importation of the sucrose into the leaf because the leaf has matured. So when the leaf matures, then there is a reduction in the amount of phosphorus also imported into it. Because remember, we have to ask ourselves, or we have to be knowing that this phosphorus that is being exported out of the leaf, all of it is being brought into the leaf through the water. And so it is brought into the leaf, then when it is not put into use, it is exported. It doesn't stay there. Okay, so I think we can proceed from there. So that is a very good, I hope now we have also got. Now you can notice that these questions, Roman number 1 and Roman number 2 were different. Roman number 1 was saying leaf area. Then Roman number 2 is saying edge of the leaf. Now for leaf area, we had a graph for leaf area. So it means that for Roman number 1, we were comparing, or we are looking at these two graphs, the graph for the leaf area and the graph for sucrose. Then for Roman number 2, it is edge of the leaf. So we don't have a graph for edge of the leaf. Edge of the leaf is here on the horizontal axis. So it means here you have to be specific. You have to say, as the edge of the leaf increases from 0 to 20 days, then amount of sucrose, so the amount of phosphorus imported into the leaf increases, also increases gradually, like that. Okay. Then this describing this, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Having something confusing me here. There's why you talked about the description part of not using very gradually, because there's some graph I'm looking at and I got confused. I'm requesting for clarification. There's when there's some graph in 2006. There's when they tell us to explain the trend, and when you look at the graph generally, it's having different, it has a different trend. And to some extent, you notice that you have a gradual and some other next part that is having a different trend. So how best would you describe that? Because from the general appearance of this curve, it may not look like gradual and then rapid. So which other words can you borrow to explain that trend that is just changing, but from general understanding, it looks like a trend?
You said the year is 2006?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can go there and we see. Let me check on that graph and we see what's so unique about it. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, please. I'm seeing your screen.
Is it paper 2 or paper 1? Are you saying this one? Is this the graph?
No, it's actually on
It's that one.
Which year?
It's a paper 2 question. Actually, it's 1998.
1998. No, I don't have that here.
Excuse me, there is also one 2015. That graph of transmission, I think also those words we can employ them. 2015.
2016. 2016 is then okay. Now 2016 it is the one which had the water hyacinths and those stuff. Now there's instances where you can use words like slight. I think let us go there. I think I have that graph. Then we see instances where we can use other words like slight. See, it must be somewhere here. So these are the graphs. Now, there are instances when you're describing, you can use words like slight. Now, when you look at this graph here for fungus, clearly when you look at this graph, there is a decrease. There is a decrease. And also when you look at this graph, there is also a decrease. Compare this graph here and this one here. All of them are decreasing gradually. That is why that in this one, I can be tempted to say that there is a slight decrease in the level of weed destruction as the temperature of the water increases. There is a slight decrease. Then this one is why I can say that there is a gradual decrease on the level of destruction of the weed as the speed of the water is increasing. Now, those are the only unique scenarios where you can be tempted to use a word like slight decrease. But the word like very, or maybe the word more. The word more is a comparative word. More, it means you're comparing something with the other. This one is increasing more rapidly than the other one. So you cannot use the word more on a graph, on a single graph, or on one graph. That one is impossible. Am I clear on that? Okay, so I think we can proceed. Okay, so this description, we finished them. Now, let us go to number 3. Let us go now to number 3. Now, number 3 is also a unique graph on its own. It's also unique on its own. Yes, Emmanuel, you have a question?
Yes, teacher.
Uh-huh.
It's not a question, but just a request.
Uh-huh.
What is the source of the previous question? Like where we can easily go and say.
What do you mean by source?
Okay, like where you got it from.
Where I got it from?
Yes, teacher.
Do I even still remember where I got it from? We get these graphs from different textbooks. You get a graph, then you write questions about it. You don't get a full question.
Okay.
You find a graph and you pick interest in it, then you design questions on it. Okay. So look at this number 3. Yes, Devin?
Sir, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
This one is a request, please. I would like to get your contact.
The contact is there. You can write it from. You can pick it from there. Mobius, you have a question? Talan, Mobius, what is your question? Talan? Okay, William.
Teacher, I'm yes, thank you, sir. Teacher, I'm requesting if it is possible for you to share today's presentation and last time was the presentation, because I see they are very good and important.
This the recorded.
Yes, recorded presentations. Yes.
Yes, they will always be shared, but also you can also go to YouTube and you look for help channel.
Help channel.
For the help channel, yes.
Okay.
They always put these recordings there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then, but I just got a link from some friends, so I'm not maybe in your platform, maybe.
Unfortunately, those groups are now full. The groups are now full.
Okay.
So you can keep on relying on that friend who sent you the link.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let us now go back to our question.
Arthur,
yes?
I think we have some free groups. Let me share the link. Let him be patient a little bit.
Yes, okay, thank you, Mr. Masaba. So Teacher Masaba can handle you in the chat.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Talani
Is still on that, sir?
Pardon?
Hello? I'm requesting, there is where you mentioned where we are not supposed to use the, to mention, like someone was mentioning something like initially, when, for example, when you have the graphs that have figures on the vertical, I didn't capture that well.
Oh, now initially, when you look at, for example, these graphs here, they don't have any figure on the horizontal axis. So you find that when you're describing, we cannot forge them. We cannot say that I'll put here A, I'll put here B, I'll put here C. So under such scenarios, that's when you rely on using the words like initially, later, as the temperature increases, like that. That's when you use words like initially and later, etc. But where you have the figures there, then you quote the figures. You say from this to this, there is that and that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let us now also use this question here as a study case to also help us interpret these questions of biology in graphs. There is always nothing so scaring about biology graph questions. And if you master them so well, you find that there will always be free marks. So what is the first trick? The first trick is read this statement given about the graph, then try to understand how that experiment was done. You try to put yourself in the shoes of the researcher or in the shoes of the scientist who carried out this experiment. Then you try to understand how was this experiment done. The moment you fail to understand how the experiment was done, then you cannot explain it. Because this data you're seeing here, it did not come from heaven. Someone sat down, designed an experiment. He also didn't have the answers. Designed an experiment. After designing an experiment, then he got these observations. After getting these observations, then now he wants you now to give an explanation to these observations that the researcher made. That's the first. Now, I continue interpreting this question here. Now, they are saying the graph shows the rate of water flow up a tree and the diameter of the tree trunk over a 24-hour period. Study the figure and answer the questions that follow. And now you start now asking yourself, they are looking at rate of water flow up a tree. So it means like we have our tree. Now we want to find out how does water move up a tree, like that. So how does water move up a tree? So we're looking at the rate of water movement up a tree. Then at the same time, they are looking at the diameter of the tree trunk. The diameter of the tree trunk. That is the size of the diameter. Sorry, the size of the tree, the length of the tree trunk, the diameter. It's like if you have a collapsed, if you have a tube and that tube is maybe latex, is rubber, it's made up of rubber, meaning that it is very, very soft. So if this tube is there, if it is not conducting water, obviously it will always be like collapsed. Then when it starts conducting water, then you observe what happens. Does it increase or reduce? But we are going to use you're going to see whether that one matches with the, okay. So they are saying that now what we have on the vertical axis, on the vertical axis, we have rate of water flow So on the vertical axis, we have rate of water flow and the diameter of tree trunk. So that's what we have on the horizontal axis. Actually, this word could have even been written here. So we could say rate of water flow in arbitrary units and diameter of tree trunk. Because when we are plotting graphs in a normal way, we don't again write another vertical axis on the right. We write all the axes on the left. So don't say that now the teacher showed us a question, he had something on the right. This is just for this sake, but this word is supposed to be written this side. Unless otherwise, unless scenarios where you're using totally different scales of these variables that are on the horizontal axis. Then on the vertical axis, we have time of days in hours. So what are we seeing? We can see the time and also the rate of water flow. So what do we see? We can see that from 0 hours to 12 hours, what happens to tree diameter? The tree diameter decreases rapidly. Then what happens to water flow? Water flow increases rapidly from 0 hours to 12 hours to reach a peak. Then from there, water flow decreases rapidly as the trunk diameter also increases rapidly. So that's what we are seeing here. There is no magic there. Okay, Devin, your hand is up. Anything?
Yes, Master. So what if you say that we there was a rapid increase up to a maximum point? What if you don't say peak, you say maximum point?
That is now a very good question. Now, in biology, we can have this kind of graphs. We can have, so maybe something can increase here like this, then like that. So, now, this one, which I have drawn in red, this is how you describe it, that the graph increases rapidly and the graph increases rapidly to a maximum and then remains constant. Increases rapidly to a maximum and then remains constant. Whereas the one for water flow increases rapidly to a peak. Increases rapidly to a peak. Now, we use the word maximum where the graph remains there. When the graph increases and remains constant, it's when we use the word maximum. But where the graph increases and then decreases, we don't use this point as maximum. Why? Because a graph can have several peaks. A graph can increase like this. A graph can increase like this. Increase the size of the pen. We can have this. So all of these are peaks, but are they the maximum? You're not sure whether they are the maximum points because a peak does not mean that the graph is maximum. So this is a peak, this is also a peak, this is also a peak, like that. But this one, we are sure the moment it increases and then it remains there, we are sure that is the maximum it can go. It can't increase further unless otherwise. So therefore, we only use the word maximum if the graph stays there. If it doesn't stay there, if it goes and then reduces, then we describe it as a peak. Is that clear? So you can check in the inbox. They have sent there the registration links and also the WhatsApp links. So you can utilize the chat room. Those ones who are asking to be added to the group and those ones who are asking for the links as well. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Kugonza.
Yes, please.
I have a question.
Ask, please. Ask. Magezi, you're free to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Kugonza. Now, for me, my question, the first one you've already answered it about when we use maximum and the peak. Now, for the case of this very graph, where we see the tree trunk growing down to a point and then increases again, the size of the tree trunk, the diameter. How do we describe that bend, the minimum point and then it goes back up? Because if a maximum, it stays there, I would want to assume that at a minimum, it will also go and then become constant down there and it doesn't come back up. So how do we describe that point where you've put the cursor?
Okay, now surprisingly here, you can say that it decreases rapidly to the lowest point. Because from this graph here, this is the lowest point. We don't have any. So we can't again set to a peak. So here we can use the word lowest point. Okay. Then after knowing how we describe, then we can now ask, even before reading the questions that we should be answering, then we can now ask ourselves, why? Why is it that as the trunk diameter is decreasing, the water flow is increasing, or vice versa? Why is it that as the water flow is decreasing, the trunk diameter is increasing? And that's why now you start now applying your biology. You start applying the science. That why, and you don't have, actually even there would be no, maybe the notes, you may not be able to find these explanations here. In the notes, they may not be there directly, but you have now to sit and scratch your head and try to, then you can try to create a virtual experiment in your brain. You envisage something that as the water flow increases, then the trunk diameter decreases. Why is this the case? Then you start perhaps maybe developing your own explanations, maybe because of this and this. Then by the time you have brainstormed all that, then you can now go to start reading at the questions that you're going to answer. Never go to these questions before understanding everything about the graph that has been given. Now, if I may ask you, who can give us a reason? Why? Or how the hell, how is it possible that as the trunk diameter is decreasing, then the water flow increases? Or as the water flow increases, the trunk diameter increases? Why? Who can give us just general knowledge, just from your own understanding, Can I have some hands? Yes, Magezi.
Thank you, Mr. Kugonza. From my own understanding, I think as the diameter decreases, the water flow increases because it will be doing with the capillary action. When the tubes are smaller, we have more water being drawn by capillary. by capillary movement.
Mhm.
Yes.
So how do the trunk diameter reduce because of that? How? Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Here, do you have something which is dependent and the independent, like what affects the other, or they are all depending on the other?
Now that's what you can find out. That's why that's what you can ask yourselves, is it there? Queen Patricia?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening
Okay,
to you.
From 00 to 12 time of the day, the trunk diameter is decreasing rapidly as the rate of water flow is increasing rapidly. This is because of increased temperatures and light intensity, thus increased rate of transpiration. This loss of water from the cells decreases the trunk diameter because the cells, they contract and shrink due to that water loss. Whereas the rate of water flow is going to increase because of osmosis. So water has to move to replace the lost water molecules into those cells, lost water via. That's yeah. Hello?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Queen Patricia. I hope we are learning the biology. We are starting to get the biology behind the question. Yes, Brian. Kitty Brian?
Teacher, I think the cause of the decrease in the trunk diameter is okay, as water is being lost. Remember, the uptake of water involves cohesion and tension forces. So as water is being lost from the tree, that tension force is kind of built up in the xylem. Remember, the pulling force is sort of a suction force. So tension is being built up, and that tension is causing what? The xylem to, the tree trunk to shrink. Yeah, that's what I think.
Wow,
yeah.
I'm in love with biology. I think now we are starting to get it. We are starting to get it. So there is a suction force. When you suck something, the suction force tends to reduce the overall diameter of the trunk. Then now, so now who can give us? Oh, we have someone called Mr. Arthur here. Okay, Mr. Arthur, who is this one?
Yes, teacher. I'm still on the other point. For me, I think as water is lost, these plant tissues are going to become flaccid. That is when we see that the trunk is shrinking.
Now, first of all, here we rule out the shrinking of the cells. We rule out the shrinking of the cells. Why? Because water is flowing through xylem. Xylem cells or xylem tissues are dead cells. Xylem tissues are dead cells. They are dead. They don't shrink, they don't become turgid. So we rule out the shrinking of the cells. That one we rule it out. Mr. Masaba, someone is saying that the form is showing mathematics. Have you shared the correct one, or they can go on and register with that one?
Sorry, let me open the link. I not opened it.
Okay, that is showing mathematics.
Okay, correct.
So now, for the diameter of the trunk, that one we now have the answer. We have the answer that the movement of the water creates a suction force, hence contracting the trunk diameter, all resulting into shrinkage or contraction of the trunk diameter, resulting into its decrease in size. So it is about the suction force that is created by the running water. Then now, who can now explain to us why is it that as the time of the day increases from this to this, we have more water flowing. Then from this to this, we have less water flowing.
Okay, so sorry to ask, but could you remind me what suction force?
Suction is like a negative pulling force. A negative pulling force. Yes, Wilson.
Thank you, teacher. According to what I see, the rate of transpiration is at the peak. The rate of transpiration is at peak at 12, and beyond 12, the light reduces, so as the temperature tries to lower, which leads to the decrease in the water flow as the transpiration pool, that transpiration pressure decreases. So that is what I think.
Okay, thank you. We shall look into that. Yes, Idi, Karim.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening to you.
Yes, Master, to me, I think that from 0 to 12 hours, and the temperature of the day is too hot, and also, politically speaking, the rate of transpiration is always equal to the rate of water loss. Therefore, by that time, the plants require a lot of water actually to carry out photosynthesis, and also requires a lot of water to cool the plant since a lot has been lost during the process of transpiration. And from 12 to 24 times of the days, the rate of water flow decreases because the temperature there by the time, I think the temperature slows down, and therefore transpiration pools also reduces, and therefore more the uptake of water actually decreases. That is what I say. Maybe for more clarity next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think all of us have now the biology. We have the biology. Okay, so look at the questions they have asked here. Describe the changes in the rate of water flow during the 24-hour period. So remember we said that when they ask to describe, they don't want any reason. They don't want any reason. They don't want any explanation. You just tell us what you are seeing on the graph. Now, who can give us an answer for part A, Roman number 1? Yes, Ruth. Ruth, are you there? Ruth, you can unmute yourself. Seems Ruth is now having challenges. Yes, Karono. Karono, can you unmute yourself? Ruth, yes. You've come. Okay, let me first have Ruth. Let me first have Ruth.
Me, what I'm thinking is like from 0 hours to 08 hours, the rate of flow of water the rate of flow of water is increasing. gradually. Then from 8 hours to 12 hours, the rate of water flow is increasing rapidly till maximum.
Did we say maximum? What did we say? That one is the peak because the graph is not remaining constant. Ruth, have you got that? Okay, can I have Karono?
Teacher, from 0 hours to 6 hours, the rate of flow of water increases gradually. And then
Hold on. You're saying 6 hours. I'm saying this is rapid from here to here. Why are you saying that here it is gradual?
Okay, from 0 hours to 4 hours, the rate of flow of water increases gradually. And then from 4 to 12 hours, the rate of water flow increases rapidly up to the peak. And then from 12 hours to 24 hours, and the rate of water flow decreases rapidly.
Okay, so the challenge is with identifying the time, this time here. So of course now you can see that, you can clearly see that from here to here, this thing is gradual. Then the rapid starts from here. That's why the rapid is. So it means we have to identify and quote this time accurately. And how can we identify it? So from 0 to 6, this is half of that. So this must be 3. So it means it is from 0 hours to 0.3 hours. The rate of water flow increases gradually, full stop. Then from 0.3 hours to 12 hours, the rate of water flow increases rapidly to a peak, full stop. Then you go to another line, you open another point. From 12 hours to 24 hours, the rate of water flow decreases rapidly, full stop. So that is how we describe graphs. Just 3 marks. Okay. Ramsden is saying that I suppose that a peak is a sharp decline after an increase. It may not be a sharp decline as long as there is an increase, then a decrease. It can be gradual increase, then gradual decrease, as long as there is that kind of a mountain peak. That's when we use the word peak. Okay. Dixet, you have a question? Dixet?
Yes, Master. Good evening, Master.
Good evening to you.
Master, I think that sharp decrease is termed as a spurt, not
as
a
a
peak.
what?
A spurt.
What do you mean? And now you're now bringing words which are now going to complicate our biology. Words like a spurt. We don't have a word like a spurt when
somebody was
when you're describing biology
talking
graphs.
of a sharp decrease.
A sharp decrease doing what?
Somebody talked of a sharp decrease after an increase. That's why I brought up that term.
Oh, but now for us in biology, even if a graph is like this, let me show you for instance, even if we have this, even if we have that, for us, it is still a peak. In biology, it is still a peak. Increases rapidly to a peak and then decreases rapidly. Those are the words that we use. Okay. So I think now we have known how to describe graphs. Then, of course, we have explained this. Now, let me write for you a sample answer to this one, then you see how the answer can be constructed and how what you can do to always maximize the points. So I'm going to attempt to answer this part B. I will just type here so that we follow gradually, slowly. So I'm going to answer this part B, Roman number 1. I think I'll just type in here. So B, question B, Roman number 1, where they're saying that explain the changes in the graph. Remember we said that whenever you're explaining a graph, the first thing to do is to describe. Then after describing, then you explain what you have described. Now, I want to explain the change of rate of water flow during the 24-hour period. Now, the rate of water flow, of course, we are just from describing it here. And from describing, let me first go up gradually, sorry. I don't know whether I'll be able to fix them on the same. Okay, I think I'll be able. Okay, so you can notice that when we were describing this graph, we said that from 0 to 3, there is a gradual increase in the water flow. Then from 3 to 12, there is a rapid increase. But realize that when I'm explaining, you might find that the explanation for this gradual increase here is likely to be the same explanation for this rapid increase here. In other words, I'm simply going to explain why is it that water flow increases as we increase time of the day from midnight to midday. That is what I'm explaining. Why is it that there is a gradual, there is an increase, whether gradual or rapid? You may find that the explanation will be the same. Now in scenarios where I realize that the explanation for the rapid is the same explanation for the gradual, then in that description, I will avoid using words like rapid and gradual. I will just say that from 00 hours to 12 hours, water flow increases because...
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So even after describing in the first part, do we need like to again redescribe the same graph in part B as we are explaining?
Yes, you have to.
Okay, thank you.
As long as you're explaining, you have to first describe what you're going to explain, even if you had described it in another question. So I think that one is now clear. So instead of now in this description here for the explanation, instead of saying that there is a gradual increase, then there is a rapid increase, I realize that the explanation is going to be the same. So I will just basically say from 0 to 12, there is an increase in water flow because I go on like that. So let me first write this answer, then I will call for questions. So I will say, so I'm answering B, Roman number 1. So I will say from, this is now point number 1, that from 00 hours to 12 hours, rate of water flow increases. Rate of water flow increases. I have described there. Rate of water flow increases because then I go on and give my answers. Now, you realize that there are very many reasons as to why water is going to increase, water flow is going to increase there. And those reasons, there is increase in the transpiration. Why does transpiration increase? I also have to go on and explain why does transpiration increase. There is an aspect of increasing stomatal aperture. There is an aspect of temperature which also increases rate of transpiration, etc. So I have to make sure that all those reasons I know of, I must mention them in my explanation. It doesn't matter the kind of English that I use, whereas and as, that one doesn't matter. I can even break my points in terms of full stops. Yes?
What if I talk of the stomato opening and closure?
Now there, you have now given one reason. There you score marks for that reason. But there are very many, so you have to give all of them. Make sure that you get all the marks that will be attached to such a question. So for example, you just first read through what I'm writing through, then we shall see that because.
Master. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, Master. What about the increase? You're just saying increase. How does it increase?
Yes.
Of course, I told you.
To say increase rapidly, or
I told you that in that time range, we have two changes. We have a rapid increase, and we also have a gradual increase. But if I say that it increases gradually, then I have to give an explanation as to why it is increasing gradually. Then after giving that explanation, I also have to go on and again describe the rapid increase. And I also give an explanation for that rapid increase. And at the end of the day, you'll find that the same reason for gradual increase is the same reason for rapid increase. So I'll have repeated myself. So instead of that, I can go away with words like rapid and gradual. I just say increases and go on and give my explanation.
Thank you.
So let us first read through this answer and we see if it makes sense. Then we shall use it to see how we can always write explanations which have very many reasons in them. So we can say, and increasing stomatal aperture as a result of light intensity. As a result of light intensity, transpiration pool also in there. Move through the xylem by cohesion. Then we can say, let me first expand this. Thereby creating then I can say the greater, not that spelling, take that one. The greater the rate of transpiration, the greater the water flow. So this is the first point, why there is an increase from 0 hours to 12 hours. So what is it saying? They're saying from 0 to 2 hours, rate of water flow increases. Now that is my description. Because evaporation or transpiration from leaves increases. The main reason why there is an increase in water flow through the xylem, the main reason is because water is being lost by transpiration. So you first have to acknowledge that one. Then after, then you can now go on and tell us, then now, why is it that during that time, transpiration is high? So, someone is listening to music as well as studying biology. Okay. So, transpiration from leaves increases due to increasing temperature. Then there is also another reason why transpiration increases. Increases due to increasing light intensity, which increases stomatal aperture. So in other words, it seems that here we have, the first thing is, why does water flow increase? Because of transpiration. Increase the transpiration. Why does transpiration increase? Two reasons. Increase the temperature because of time of the day, and also increasing light intensity. Now, what is the connection between increasing light intensity and rate of transpiration? Light intensity always increases stomatal aperture. Then, full stop. Then now I can go on and say that transpiration pool causes water molecules to move through the xylem by cohesion, thereby creating a pool. So the higher the rate of transpiration, the greater the water flows. So that is how you write such an answer. Even if the words may not seem to be flowing well, but when you read that point, you find that all the ideas you had in your head are reflected there. It doesn't matter the kind of adjectives that we have used. It doesn't matter. Those ones do not matter for you, as long as you, when you read through, you feel that all your points are captured there. So read through that answer and see if there is anything missing. Then you can now go on. Now the reverse of this one, the reverse of these points here will be true. For why? There will be a decrease from 12 hours to 24 hours. Is that clear?
Oh, excuse me, sir. Someone was asking about stomata aperture. It's the same as stomata size.
Yes, stomata aperture is stomatal size or the stomatal width when it opens. Yes, yes, Maria, and Thea Maria.
Teacher, you said that in the explanation we don't use the word gradual and rapid, but then in the description for parts.
Hold on. I did not say in the explanation you don't use the word gradual and rapid. I said if you see that the explanation for a gradual change will be the same explanation for a rapid change, then you may do away with the gradual and rapid.
Okay,
hey, Maria, is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, Brian?
Okay, teacher. Okay, the explanation is the same, but what if someone chose to like quantify the extent of the, for example, if I said from 0 to 3, rate of transpiration increases gradually. So rate of water flow increases gradually because, okay, I say maybe transpiration also increased gradually because probably the light intensity was still low. Then I continue and talk about the rapid increase while relating it to the further increase in light intensity. Would it work or?
Yes, it would also work, but you'll have to rate too much.
Oh, thank you, teacher.
Yes, Bantariza Karim.
Yes, master. There's something I want to understand. No, like as I'm seeing from this graph where we are having the peak, I'm seeing something in form of a curve. Now, what if it comes to a place, a circumstance where you are given just points to be plotted? Then when you're joining those points, are you also supposed to put them in form of a curve or just in sharp pigment like the peak?
It must be in form of a curve. Remember, you don't use a ruler. And remember, you don't use your free hands. So you have to forge there something like a curve.
Yes. So yes, that is why I was also I was also asking something. That is from 0.9 to 12. Because as the rate of water flow increases, I'm also seeing as if it increases rapidly, then again there's a slight increase. Because as you follow from 0 to 9, you'll find that there's a sharp increment, or whereby you say we don't use that word, but I'm sorry to use it. Then if you see from 9, before it clocks 12, the rate of water uptake slows down slowly, because it is not just something that is going to what? It's going to increase rapidly, then it drops again very fast. No, it has to, the rate of water flow must first increase rapidly, then it slows down. As it slows down, then start decreasing. So I was requesting to be given some clarity there.
Okay. Now, yes, it is true. You can see that before the graph reaches a peak, it somehow slows down. It somehow slows down. It doesn't just reach a peak rapidly and then decreases. Now, when you're describing, you also judge. If you see that gradual increase before the peak takes place within a short duration, then you can ignore it. But if it takes place after in a long duration, maybe it takes place even in 3 hours. You see, from 3 hours, within 3 hours, there is that gradual. Then you can account for it. So it can either be negligible. If you see that it takes place within the shortest time, you can ignore it. But if you see it takes place within quite a bigger duration, then you can go on and acknowledge it as well. And in this graph particularly, it takes place within a short time period. So that's why we were ignoring it. Michael? Fanny?
Yes, teacher, I would like to know the allocation of marks.
Okay.
Because this is such a short paragraph.
Okay. Now, the one thing that we should never worry of in biology is question allocation. For you, as long as you know that if you read your answer, you find that you have put all your points, all the ideas you had in your head, then wait for the teacher. What is going to come from the examiner? But however, now for me, when I'm marking, because of course you will not use these exact words, I will first ask myself a question. Have you described? If you have described, if you have quoted the time, like now this one here, if you have quoted the time, then you score. Then, have you described the change that takes place there? Yes, you have said it increases. You also score there. Then I'll ask myself, have you given me a reason why the water flow increases? Yes, the water flow increases because of increased transpiration or evaporation. You also score. Then after that, I'll ask myself, if you've said that the water flow increases because of transpiration, then have you given me a reason why transpiration is increasing. Now, here the reason why transpiration is increasing, I have two reasons. But depending on how many marks I want to give, I can say I will only consider one reason. So we have a reason for increased temperature, and we also have a reason for increased light intensity and stomatal aperture. So I can say increased temperature, I will give a mark. Then if instead of saying temperature, he says that increasing light intensity, which results into stomatal opening, which is the same as stomatal aperture, I'll also put there one mark like that. So that is how we allocate marks. We allocate them according to the biology that we are looking for. That's why for you, when you are writing an answer, make sure that you don't leave questions. If I read your answer, I shouldn't ask why this. Then afterwards, what follows? What next? I shouldn't ask myself those questions. Make sure that you have exhausted all the biology that you wanted to write. Michael, is that clear? And also,
yes.
And also remember the trick which I gave you last week. The trick of what happens, why does it happen, and how does it happen? So we can even, in this one, you can even see that formula coming into play. What happens, why does it happen, and how does it happen? I can trace those things there. What happens is that transpiration pool increases. That is, so the transpiration increases. That is what happens. Why does it happen? Why does transpiration increase? Due to increasing temperature or due to increasing light intensity, which increases stomatal aperture, or which results into opening of the stomata. Then the how part, transpiration molecules causing the water molecules to move through the xylem by cohesion, by creating a pool. So this is the how part of it. In other words, how does that water flow through the xylem? How does it flow is here. How and why, those ones I have also talked about them. So in any explanation, as long as there is some results to be interpreted, have in mind what happens, how does it happen, and why does it happen. Is that clear? Okay. So I think, let me see, let me answer some few questions. Then, okay. Okay, so the chat is clear. So let me end with Jovia, then we call it a day. But please don't forget to look through the charts, look for the link, register. We are just trying to collect some little data about those ones who have been participating, and also put in the comments. We want to see how we can improve serving you better. So go to the chat room, open that link and register, and put there the comment on your assessment of these things. Yes, Jovia.
Okay, sir. Thank you for allowing me to speak. What I wanted to know is that you've told us that if they say explain, you describe, then you explain. So, sir, can they, like, when they say describe, you just, like, you describe, but you do not give reasons?
No. When they say describe, you just describe, no reason whatsoever, just describing what you're saying. Also, when they ask you things like compare the graph, give the relationship. What is the relationship? What are the differences and similarities? You just give the descriptions, no reason. Reasons only come in when they ask you either to explain or to account for. That is now when you bring in your biology. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so someone is asking, will the class proceed? You just wait and see. We also don't know whether we shall be able to get the resources and the time as well, but you just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. Yes, Irene?
Sir, can they ask you to compare 3 graphs?
Yes, if it is also possible. But though I have not seen them, normally it is always comparing the 2 graphs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Arthur?
Yes, teacher, I appreciate all your services.
Thank you.
My question is, when are we allowed to mention the values on the vertical axis?
Never.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, so we can call it a day. Thank you for attending. And we're now waiting for the A's. Yes, Teacher Masabe, Elisa, do you have something you have to say about the registration and that kind of stuff? Mr. Masaba? Okay, so you can
Let's check.
We write, can't we write these words on the same side, like where we wrote rate of water flow? Can't we write on the same side the diameter of the tree?
Actually supposed to be on the same side. They are supposed to be on the same side. Okay, so bye-bye, dear students. Have a nice day.